What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a film that was released this weekend, or right before the weekend started. And this is a big weekend for movies. Obviously, I just watched Barbie. I gave my full thoughts on it. Absolutely loved it. A lot of people are going to see Oppenheimer opening weekend. I am not the biggest Christopher Nolan fan. I'll probably see it at some point, but from early reactions, it seems like a lot of people are saying it fits right into his style and the way that he presents things. So I don't think it's going to be my favorite thing. I'm going to watch it eventually. But amidst those two giant blockbusters being released, there was this little horror movie that came out, and honestly, I didn't know anything about it. I'm an AMC Stubs member, so sometimes you just go watch movies if the cast looks good enough or if the premise sounds interesting. And I saw Lizzy Caplan was in this movie. I'm a big fan of Lizzy Caplan. And the horror film I'm going to be discussing today is Cobweb. Cobweb is directed by Samuel Bodin. 8-year-old Peter is plagued by a mysterious constant tapping from inside his bedroom wall, one that his parents insist is all in his imagination. As Peter's fear intensifies, he believes that his parents could be hiding a terrible, dangerous secret and questions their trust. So, this movie wasn't heavily marketed. I didn't see a ton of trailers for it. I saw a poster in my AMC, which was enough to pique my interest to see it. And this movie was really surprising. I thought it was very good. There are definitely some glaring problems, especially towards the third act of the film, but I think there's enough here to hold on to make it something worth viewing. So this film is set around Halloween. I think it's 2 weeks before Halloween. We're introduced to Peter, who is a young kid played by Woody Norman, who was in Come On, Come On, which I absolutely loved that film. And he lives in this old, dilapidated house with his mom, Carol, played by Lizzy Caplan, and his dad, Mark, played by Antony Starr, who a lot of people know as Homelander and The Boys. And they live in this old house. You can tell that his mom is very strange. Lizzy Caplan's performance in this, very similar to the aunt from Sleepaway Camp, if you've seen Sleepaway Camp. Very off-putting and weird in her dialogue delivery. And when Peter goes to school, he is bullied by people at his school. He's kind of an outcast. And he goes to school, and we're introduced to his substitute teacher, Miss Divine, played by Cleopatra Coleman, who is in Infinity Pool this year. She's an incredibly talented actress. And she kind of notices that things aren't all there with Peter. He seems like an outcast. He seems like he's bullied. And one day when he's in class, he draws this picture that literally says help. It's him in his bed. She gets worried for his safety, goes home and confronts the family about it, ends up leaving, and things just kind of amp up from there. As the description states, Peter, when he goes to bed at night, is hearing this knocking in his wall, which eventually turns into talking. And the entire film, you're trying to figure out, what is this presence in his wall? Is it real? Is it something in his imagination? Are his parents messing with him? Are they evil? Is he just misinterpreting all of it? And the film is that mystery and unraveling that mystery. And what I loved about this movie and thought was really fantastic was the atmosphere. So many movies, even horror related, I feel like really lack atmosphere. This movie is set 2 weeks before Halloween, and you can feel it. The color temperature of the film, it's got almost this foggy haze through most of it that just looks really great and immediately immerses you in this world and makes it such a compelling viewing experience because of how nice it looks. There's some really great shots in this. There's some questionable editing choices that I don't think work as well. There's this one kind of like tilted shot that they use throughout the movie that after a while it feels like they hang on to a little bit too much to just keep going back to it to build up that tension. But I do think because of the performances in this from the three lead characters, the mother, the father, and the son, that there's this really great tension that builds throughout the movie that leaves you at the viewer continuing to guess what is going to happen. And one of the things I like about this movie is it is not a film laden with jump scares. There are some truly horrifying imagery that is shown to you throughout this film that the director requires you to continue to look at. And that is my favorite type of horror, is not just jump scare horror. I love when horror sits with you, makes you uncomfortable, and the director does a great job in this. He also does not pull any punches with the violence. There's sometimes I watch movies where it feels like a filmmaker's gonna go there and do something insane, and they'll pull back from it because they're they're afraid to show it. This movie, they're not. They go some directions with some things that really kind of took me by surprise, and I was impressed that they were willing to go that way. And I don't want to give any spoilers away to the film. It's very fresh and new. Not a lot of people know about it. I think it's definitely worth watching. But when it comes to my biggest issue with the film, it's the last 20 minutes of the movie. Some of it gets into relatively cliched territory, but I think more than anything, so much of this film is about what you don't see, or what you see kind of from a crooked angle to where your vision never fully processes what it is. And when you start seeing what's actually there, it's not as impressive anymore. You can tell with budgetary restraints, they didn't have the kind of budget to show exactly what they want. Some of it's a little cheesy looking, and that's unfortunate because I think the build-up is so great. And wrapping up this film, it just felt like, okay, we don't really 100% know how we want the movie to end, so it kind of just ends in a way that feels really unsatisfying. And like, movies can just end, but I feel like the best movies that just end build up to where the ending packs a punch, where it's saying something, or it's a statement for a character or something like that. This, it just feels really lazily wrapped up. The plot line with the substitute teacher, she just feels kind of incorporated to kind of get the plot from point A to point B. Whenever Cleopatra Coleman's in a scene, she does a really great job with her performance, but the problem is she just feels kind of shoehorned in to add an outside element and perspective to the overall story. Whenever it kind of left the landscape of the home, it was less interesting of a film. And there are a lot of fun moments in this that will truly unsettle you. There's a couple shots in particular that just like sent chills up my spine, that was really just uncomfortable. And I love when a movie can still do that. And despite the flaws that this movie has, and it has some flaws, I still think if you're a horror fan and you enjoy horror movies, this is unique enough and interesting enough that you're gonna have a fun time watching it. So have you seen Cobweb? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was really entertaining. Despite the flaws that the movie has, it's a really solid horror film, and I think it's definitely worth checking out if you have the opportunity. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.